The MoneroTopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
I really truly feel honored. Like I'm sponsored by Cake Wallet. That's amazing.
we just got used to you hanging around here too much. We never gave you the special guest podium. So yep, well, tell us more, man. Tell us more about yourself, actually, if you don't mind, what you're willing to divulge.
Oh yeah, I'm just an AI. Yeah, I don't actually look like this. No, I'm just I'm a software engineer. So yeah, I work in right now everyone's I work in actually crypto. I work for a company called Lit Protocol. But yeah, everyone's obsessed with AI agents right now. So that's really what I'm working on right now. But I don't have I didn't bring any material. Obviously, I don't have a whole lot to say.
AI agents that are doing what, like crypto related?
Yeah, anything. That's just any hype. Yeah, there's like in the Solana ecosystem, there's like AI KOLs, which are like trying to move markets, run pump and dumps as AI, and then also as far as there's also some legitimate e-commerce use cases, like a travel agent. Like when you book travel, there's probably 3 different things you have to do at the minimum, like your accommodation, your plane tickets, and it can be complicated. So you'd want to have an agent where it's like, hey, can you book me this, and it automatically does it in a few seconds. But then, I have definitely thought about some Monero use cases where you could have a chatbot that can send you anything. But yep, no, I wouldn't encourage anybody to do that. I would never do that. I would never encourage anyone to create.
I have been thinking about how we could have something on XMR Bazaar to kind of automate things there for people. I guess that would essentially be the solution.
Yeah, a chatbot is definitely a conceivable concept of something you just add in the corner or something. There's plenty.
How do you do it in a privacy preserving way, and then
there's encrypted messaging services. If you want to trust Telegram, I think they're at least in name encrypted. But there's an encrypted messaging service called XMTP. I like that. Is basically an Ethereum wallet. Basically gives you a messaging that lets you message between Ethereum wallets privately. So if you own an Ethereum wallet, I own an Ethereum wallet, we can both log in as that wallet and then talk to each other in an encrypted way. And then since you have the financial data from Ethereum right there, you can do more privacy related things, or at least permissionless related things because it's on Ethereum.
Yeah, I was just thinking in terms of an XMR Bazaar chatbot, how we could have something like that, but then also have it be privacy preserving, and so people know their conversations with the chatbot aren't being recorded right on a server somewhere.
The hard part, I think, with that, there's probably some way to do it, but it's the context length is small, so it's you can't really give your chatbot. I mean, I assume XMR Bazaar is thousands of listings. I assume so. That would be larger than the context. But yeah, if it was only a few hundred, maybe you could do that.
Okay. So yeah, man, what is your Monero story of what you're willing to tell us about it?
I'm just a holder. I haven't. I mean, I've always just been interested in trading crypto and stuff. But yeah, it's it's gotten too hardcore. It used to be in 2017, you could just basically buy whatever you wanted. I feel and it wouldn't rug pull, but now everything is designed to be a rug pull, and so I feel it really leaves Monero alone as something where it's okay, it has utility. I mean, and Bitcoin. Then that's what they were saying. I saw the all-in thing you were talking about. He said we're open. Right now they think Bitcoin is unique, but they're open to the concept of if something is more unique. I think Monero would meet that, but obviously the market cap is 1,000x less than Bitcoin. I think they're looking for 100 billion market cap. So yeah, I don't know exactly where I was going with that, but my Monero story. I mean, I'm just a holder now because I use things like coin cards and stuff to actually spend on things. So if I want to spend Monero, I'll do that through coin cards most likely. But that's other than that, I just hold.
What So how are you feeling about the Monero ecosystem overall? Obviously, you've been watching things for a long time now. I've been involved for a long time. What's your current take on where we
I
are
think, yeah,
relative to
I
other
mean,
cryptos?
obviously, I think everything is at the end of the day driven by price, because if the price goes up, then Monero people can invest into Monero again, and then that grows the ecosystem, and so there's a feedback loop there. And obviously, we're not above our all-time highs, but I think that we're good technically. I mean, Body definitely talks about this, and yeah, more than I do. But yeah, I mean, we're if the price goes up, then we can invest more, and it also that's just the way crypto works. Is it's hype based, so it's like you like it almost seems like if you 2x, it makes it more likely that you'll 2x again. Whereas if you're like Monero is kind of stable and boring, so nobody in crypto touches it that much.
Right. Its current inertia is to be stable, so therefore it just stays stable until there's some event. Do you foresee us, trending towards a value that would seem more reasonable compared to other cryptos, given our?
I mean, we already are. I think the year over year is like up 50% right now. That's phenomenal growth. I mean, if we saw 50%, I mean, yeah. I see Monero is kind of like growing slow. Like the goal is like I think if we were going to get into the trillions or something, it would be like you want to see like 35% per year. So right now we're actually beating that over year. And so yeah, if you grow at a 30, we're growing at 50 this year. But yeah, we'll see if that continues. But if you grow like even a 35% increase year over year over year, it compounds so quickly. It can 1,000x in a matter of just a few decades.
That's yeah, a good way of looking at it, big picture. What is your take with like the recent announcements, the Trump executive order, the Bitcoin reserve, the crypto strategic reserve, and where you see the market heading in the short term? We're talking about, Body's potentially talking about like a major pullback back to like 40K. How do what's your feel?
Yeah, I mean, the Solana stuff, I really hate Solana. I think that Solana is really a stain on the crypto industry. Like it makes me kind of embarrassed, like to say that I work in crypto, to tell people that I work in crypto, because it's like Trump is just running a pump and dump. Like I don't like that. And it's like really the opposite. Like Joe Biden, like they did this weird thing where it's like, oh, we're just not gonna talk about crypto. But then, yeah, Trump is like actively going in and then being toxic within the space. So it's like, can we just get someone who's like, all right, like, could we? I mean, honestly, I'd be happy with a Maxi if it was in charge. And I think that's what David Sachs was saying. It's like the government is probably going to go the Maxi way. But then, yeah, I mean, I would never have thought that it was conceivable that the president would just run a pump and dump right as he's about to be inaugurated. So it seems like it could even get worse. Like if JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs starts running their own pump and dumps regularly, that's really the only way I could see this. Like that seems like where it's going, honestly, because we know there's like shady things like the big four banks do. Like Wells Fargo has like all these things that they'll just like pick people and like mess around with their accounts and stuff. But yeah, it seems like nobody is ever held accountable these days. Even though you can legalize crypto, make everything like on paper, okay, this is what you can do, and then just go after the most serious offenders. I mean, the Solana people they're obviously insider trading. And yeah, I mean, but there's nobody's going to do about it because Trump's obviously insider trading using Solana, and then Nancy Pelosi's also a notorious insider trader. She makes like 50% a year in stocks and clearly uses insider knowledge. So I don't think that anything's going to actually be done in regards to holding people accountable for their scams. So it's a good time to be a scammer, I think, in America.
That's a good way of putting it. It's so true, right? Like scamming. These are the glory days of scamming right now.
Absolutely. And I'm not a scammer or I don't want to be scammed. So that's why I just call Monero now.
It's the golden age of fraud.
I mean, the
SBF, he really timed the bot. Like he just had to wait a few years.
Trump launching that meme coin, 2 days before.
It was 2. He launched. His wife launched one. It was 2.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it's just insane. It's just like Freaking insane. First time chatter tipped $1. I don't know if this was covered before, but what's the community's take on openmonero.com? They're advertising themselves as a local Monero replacement. Their front end is a carbon copy, but yeah, I don't know. Do people know? I think there's another one like Global Monero or something. Anybody have any insight to there, or whether these things are legit, or as we were saying, this being the golden age of scamming, is this yet another scam in the crypto space? I don't know.
I haven't used it. I actually I never used local Monero either. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to, and then they shut it down.
Yeah, guys, I don't know. I don't know if anybody has any good insight into that. And then, like I said, I think there's another one, Global Monero. Tux, I don't know if you're listening. You might have some insight. Buddy, I don't know if you've come across these things. But yeah, they're posing to be like I could bring it up. Boom. I mean, yeah, it's basically like a local Monero clone. So I don't know how active it is or what's going on here. So I don't know. Don't trust, verify. Start slow. Obviously, people using XMR Bazaar for these types of purposes, not custom built for that use case. It's built for buying and selling any types of goods and services, but people are using it for peer, buying cash with Monero and whatnot, doing it all peer to peer. But yeah, I don't know about this new one that popped up. REMSee. All right, so yeah, you got an interesting perspective on all the Solana meme coin shit because you're working on the tech. Are you working on anything Monero related? You got any Monero related projects you're working on or thinking of working on that you're willing to discuss?
Like I said, I'm interested in working with the swap protocol. I just haven't really had the time, or I haven't had the time to really figure out how I would build that. Yeah, but basically you could set up a decentralized order book that way. But it's like, okay, I mean, an MVP would be possible, but I just haven't had the time recently to build anything like that. It would be cool to have that though, and yeah, it's like I think it'd be very possible to have like a Tor based. You can use zero knowledge proofs for verifying web data, so you can create a proof of computation for any arbitrary computation. So specifically with the market I was talking about earlier, I have this concept of anyone in the world can actually go on to Tor or wherever and then post data that's there's a zero knowledge proof that the data actually exists on Tor. So you could post all the e-commerce information onto a blockchain publicly, and then anyone could interact with that permissionlessly because they can just transact with the Monero address without anyone knowing. And then you could also have encrypted messaging for telling someone where their address is. So I've thought a lot about it, but I haven't ever produced anything.
Very, very cool. Very cool. We could always use more platforms like this. I mean, do you use Basic Swap or Havino Dex, or using any of those things? Do you use XMR?
I've used the Bitcoin Atomic Swap before. I have a YouTube video I posted years ago when that was first got released. So yeah, I still get views on that occasionally. But yeah, I actually use Change Now sometimes if I'm doing something where it's just okay, I need to change this amount to Monero. If I get I get paid in crypto sometimes for hackathons and stuff, so I'll just you Change Now to switch something quickly from base Ethereum or base USDC to Monero.
What do you think the Monero ecosystem needs the most right now?
I think it is these connections to the other markets. I mean, you could create I've thought about you create basically an equivalent of Tornado Cash, but it'd be cross-chain. So one disadvantage of Tornado Cash is that as the privacy pool grows, the gas fees get expensive. So if you're not familiar with Ethereum, gas fees are basically transaction fees. And the more complicated a smart contract, more data it's operating over, the more fees you have to pay. And so with Tornado Cash, when you have a privacy set, you can that's basically what the security mechanism is for the whole everyone using it. And so what you would create with Monero is if you had basically Monero DEX, anyone could use it as a swap tool, and it also kind of helps solve the problem of when you're using something like Tornado Cash, you need to you can't just go, oh, I have $500, I'm going to send it through a channel and then it's going to come out immediately as $500 on the way out. Because then it's obvious where the money went. So basically Monero, it basically, if you had a cross-chain Monero swap tool, it would basically serve that function, because you can actually hold your money in Monero while you're waiting to change all your different things to different addresses, and just kind of disguise your footsteps as you make swaps. And Doug's gone.
No, I'm here. I'm here. What are some things that you're excited that are coming up in Monero? Tech that you got your eye on, improvements, services.
I believe there was
a DEX. I would assume you're excited about.
Well, yeah, I mean that's it hasn't really materialized, has it? As far as I'm aware.
No, not yet.
Yeah. So yeah, there was, and then there was a hard fork Seraphis. I don't even know if that happened, or I think that there are all hard forks every 2 years or something like that. I don't know.
Well, we have full chain membership proofs that's coming up. It's going to be implemented.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Monero is really complicated. I don't actually understand everything, every single update. I don't follow that closely. But yeah, it's good to see that the Monero community is still able to update itself. And improve the technology while still remaining decentralized.
Are there other cryptos that you're interested? Obviously, you do work on Solana. What are the top crypto projects that have your interest?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Solana is simply the hot project. It's just where all the pump and dumps are, and that's just a new thing that's emerged. Ethereum, it's kind of devolved into I went to ETH Denver a few weeks ago. It's they have this whole L2 problem. It's kind of frustrating because the Ethereum chain itself is too expensive. So there's this they have this it's called liquidity fragmentation is the problem, but basically all the money moves onto these layer 2s, and it's all they're all basically the same. They're all competing for the same kind of block space, and they're all oh, we're different because we use zero knowledge proofs in this way. It's this whole mess of an ecosystem. And then as far as privacy related tokens, I'm not a fan of I haven't really looked into them, but Xano or Zcash I've never used. I've never really seen anywhere that accepts them. Pretty much. And then so as far as I think as far as Bitcoin goes, I don't think it's a bad thing to hold, but personally, I would hold it in the ETF, because self-custody, there are risks with that if you're going to hold, if you're going to have any money in a bank account, you might want to put some in Bitcoin at least and hold it through the ETF rather than having it be cold storage, especially because there's been cases where people have just been tracked on the blockchain on the Bitcoin that they were holding self-custody, and they just get robbed, and it's boom, it's gone. I think Monero is really the only thing that it's really safe to self-custody because of the privacy.
So when it comes to these contracts platforms and just platforms in general, do you have a preference for trying to scale with L2 versus L1? Solana, for example, as I'm sure you know, is primarily an L1 scaling platform, whereas Ethereum, their entire drive, it seems for at least the past 4 to 5 years, has been towards roll-ups as their scaling plan. So what do you think about those differences?
Yeah, I think that there's ZK, and then there's pessimistic proofs, optimistic proofs, and I really am not an expert in that, but I would say that my preference, honestly, is Coinbase's base chain. So it's not it just uses ETH, but it's cheaper. There's some inconveniences bridge fees, but yeah, as far as if you're looking to write a smart contract and then have it work fairly cheaply, Base is the way to go. Now you have the centralization risks there, but it's still pretty permissionless. And yeah, you can. I mean, I've never really heard of anyone like having Coinbase interfere in their trade or something like that. So yeah, I think it's. I mean, I think if you look at the volumes on the L2s, I think there's like L2 beat is something you can look at. It looks at all that, and yeah, it measures that. But yeah, nobody I feel like really uses the Ethereum main chain or the Bitcoin main chain. Like people actually use Solana because they're doing these weird, crazy pump and dumps and rug pulls. And then people use Base because it's actually like I can hold US dollars in it, maybe get some interest from Coinbase, and then also like it's like 4% interest. It's a better interest rate than you get from a regular bank account. So yeah, I like Base, even though yeah, there's obviously the centralization concerns. But yeah, it's just a cheap L2 that you can use USDC on. So that's why I like it.
Are they like what are the? I know the volumes are pretty high now. What about like individually? So if some individual is trying to trade, say, 10K or 100K or a million, do you run into problems on Base or these Ethereum layer 2s in terms of there being sufficient L2 volume for you to make big plays, or is that like have those ecosystems grown enough to cover that kind of volume, like instantaneous volume?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have. I mean, as far as like, I mean, Solana is just ridiculous because you'll see a coin, it'll be like 15K market cap and have like 15 million in volume every day. I mean, Solana is just a crazy, crazy ecosystem. So I don't think that Base has anything like that, but it does have like meme coins and yeah, a whole ecosystem around that. Yeah, I think that the part of the issue is like the reason Solana has been so successful is because people just have like token. They really just focus on tokens, whereas Base you have the smart contracts and people really try to build utilities. So then you have if you're going to buy a token, you have to audit it. If you're on Base, that would be the responsible thing to do at least. Whereas on Solana, you can more so trust that the token isn't like a honeypot scheme or has some like mint function. Yeah, Solana is more really focused on it's just a pump and dump casino is what it is fundamentally. And so, yeah, and the people who run the dexes, they're not actually decentralized exchanges. The people who run the dexes are closely involved with the big token launches and are obviously, in my opinion, guilty of insider trading. But like I said, so are the leaders of the two political parties in this country. So I don't expect anything to change.
I guess I probably phrased it poorly. I'm trying to ask more like, so when these L2s on Ethereum started taking off, I always had the impression that like their individual capacity, like for a person, like just for one trade, like, okay, I want to trade into Ethereum for $100,000 on L2. I always had the impression that like those kinds of large transactions couldn't be facilitated on their layer 2. But is that still the case? Can you do like, I don't know, say like $1 million transaction on Base or on some ETH layer 2?
Yeah, certainly on Base you could do that. Yeah, I'm sure you could exchange if you had like $1 million of Ethereum and you wanted to turn it into USDC on Base. I'm sure you could do that, and I'm pretty sure that the fees would still be reasonable too. But yeah, I mean, I haven't personally just moved millions on chain.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's a huge leg up in comparison to Bitcoin and Lightning Network. Obviously, Lightning has problems doing like even just 4 figures, 5 figures on Lightning is practically impossible unless you're already like a huge routing hub or whatever. But for like normal people, it's pretty hard to move that much money on Lightning. And
Okay, yeah, you can
like,
definitely do 5 figures on Base, yeah.
But like you can't even get into Tether or USDC over Lightning Network on Bitcoin. Like you can to some very small extent, but like it's way lower. It's interesting. I kind of expected Ethereum by now to be performing a little bit better because the volumes that it's doing when you aggregate all of those L2s, it's massively outperforming Bitcoin volumes to just this. Like I mean, it's huge. It's not even close. And it's interesting because you would think that the Ethereum platform, Ethereum as a token would have more value. But, I heard he's kind of a scammer. He's definitely a scammer. This one person whose name I will not mention said that value accrues to the endpoints, not to the platform. So like, for example, I think Amazon was the one that was used. Like, I guess value accrues to Amazon. Maybe I'm fucking this up. Anyways, I think the idea then in general is that like value won't accrue to Ethereum. It'll accrue to like Coinbase and their L2, or like the tokens themselves, the people launching the tokens. But Ethereum itself is a platform. I'm kind of playing with the idea. You can probably tell I'm sort of like openly brainstorming, considering it here. But yeah, maybe Ethereum price won't perform just simply because all the value is flowing through L2s, and the value is flowing at the endpoint tokens as opposed to the platform itself. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Ethereum makes money through the gas fees, and I don't know why any regular person would pay the gas fees unless they had to. I've had to because I've gotten paid in USDC on Ethereum, and then it's like, oh, I have to pay. I'm sending $500, and I have to spend $2 to do that. That's kind of annoying. Or to an exchange on Ethereum like USDC to just regular ETH is like, it's like $10 on $500 or something. Like, it's really annoying. So I don't know. That's how they make their money. But then also, like, if you're using a Coinbase wallet, Coinbase, if you're like in the app on a swap, it'll just take 1%, and it's like that's not even they're just getting that because you're too lazy to actually log on and like talk to the smart contract yourself. Like, that's just a convenience fee. They're taking 1% of the transaction when you're already paying the gas fee, which is extraordinary. So it does go to the platform. It does go to I feel like the only person who loses on actually the crypto stuff completely is Apple, because they aren't able to do their platforming. Like, oh, we take 25% of app revenue. That it's definitely something where it's like, okay, yeah, it really comes to the it makes sense. It's fair too, because it's like, okay, they're the ones who actually brought the person to the platform. They're the person who actually brought the person to actually make the payment. So it does go to that person. But I think I have been surprised that Ethereum has not hit its above 2021 all-time high. That has been a surprise for me. And it's because of Solana. It's because Solana has taken away all of the degenerate meme coin stuff, and now that's just basically this completely saturated ecosystem of just the most disgusting financial activity that you can imagine.
Yeah, that was kind of one of my major conclusions as well, that Solana was a major factor in sort of like keeping Ethereum price muted. Because otherwise, without Solana, there'd probably be a lot more meme coin degeneracy happening on L2. But I think, like, now that I really think about it, where is the magic of meme coinery, right? Like, you've got Bitcoin ordinals where shit have a JPEG stored on chain, right? When you're like, okay, well, there's kind of that Web3 and all that stuff where people were storing memes, but it was really just stored on someone's server, and then they got shut down. So it seemed like somewhere in the mess of that nonsense 2022, 23, people started being like, no, wait, let's just put our memes on chain. You can do it on Bitcoin now. And then Solana, blew up as like the chain actually is the storage of the memes itself. So in some ways, that does make a lot of sense, because you get this feeling on these L2s like, okay, well, where's the data availability layer happening? And do I really have access to this meme for all time as long as the chain is running? So that kind of does make sense. And I don't think that market's going away anytime soon. Like, people just like, it's fun. It's stupid. It's kind of degenerate depending on who you are and how you're approaching it. In some ways, I consider the meme coinery to be slightly more honest than some of these coins that, like Ripple, like representing, or fucking Cardano, that like has concurrency issues. They tried the UTXO model. It doesn't work when it comes to contracts platforms. You need accounts. And Charles Hoskins was told this from the very beginning. And like, somehow they're like the number 5 crypto, just massive billions and billions. It's like the government just made Cardano part of their strategic reserve, but nobody fucking uses Cardano. Like, I don't hear anybody talking about Cardano hardly ever, except for just people with bags.
He seems to be very politically connected, right?
He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really worked his way into the administration. Yeah, very very intelligent guy. I think he's got some good takes. He doesn't have. I don't think he has a lot of positive things to say about Monero. I think he completely poo-poos Monero, right? And
he told us how he was going to look into Monero and fix it for us. That was like 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just retarded.